All right, so now we're going to talk about the other bits of punctuation. That is the apostrophe, the colon, the hyphen, the dash, the parentheses, the brackets, the question mark, and the exclamation point. So let's jump right in with apostrophes here. Now, here are the rules. You use apostrophes to show that you have omitted letters in a contraction, for instance, in can't or won't. Now, there is a note here. IT apostrophe S always means it is. It is a contraction. It is not a possessive word. So if you can put it is in there, then you want IT apostrophe S. Now, you also use apostrophes for omitted numbers, like he graduated in 96. I don't want to write 19, apparently, so I just write an apostrophe instead. Now, you also use apostrophes when you are pluralizing letters, numbers, or words that normally don't have a plural, like be sure to cross your T's, right? If you had TS, we would be like tis, I don't know what that is. Or your 8s look like F's, right? So there would be an apostrophe or an apostrophe here. Or I'm tired of his maybes, you know. Now, you could also do this last one with quotation marks, and then you wouldn't need the apostrophe, but anytime you're trying to pluralize something that's a little weird, an apostrophe will usually help you clarify. Now, you also use apostrophes to show ownership. For instance, that is my friend's book bag. Now, there are some rules when adding apostrophes per possession, and here they are. If it's singular and it doesn't end in S, add apostrophe S. If it's plural and it doesn't end in S, then add apostrophe S. If it is singular and ends in S, add apostrophe S, but it's acceptable to add only the apostrophe if the new word is going to be awkward, like Odysseus's journey can just become Odysseus's journey. Like, you know, we still pronounce that extra s, but you don't need to double up on the s's right here, so you can just drop it. Or like the bus's wheels, you could just put an apostrophe. Or if it's plural and it ends in s, you would just add an apostrophe. But be sure to make the word plural before you add the apostrophe. Like dogs' owners, there are many dogs and they have some owners. Or like the Smith's house, the family name is Smith, the Smiths live there, the Smiths own the house. Or we also use apostrophes for certain expressions of time, like I need 2 weeks vacation. So that's another usage of the apostrophe. Moving on. This is the colon, these 2 dots right here, right? Colons can introduce lists. That's their primary purpose, but they also have some other uses, right? To separate the hour from the minute when you're talking about time, to separate the numbers in a ratio, as in math, or to separate chapter and verse in certain books like the Bible or a Shakespeare play. So you can say, at the 5:15 p.m. service, the number of people who recognized the quote John 3:16 was about 2 to 1. So that would be the humble colon to introduce a list. It's usually how you use it. Now, moving on, we have the hyphen. The hyphen is not a dash. Hyphens are used in the middle of words. They're just one line, like brother-in-law or one-way street or 42. You do not want to confuse them with dashes. In order to make a hyphen, you hit the hyphen underscore button once, and it gives you this. And then when you want to make a dash, you hit it twice. Then you end up with dit dit, right, 2 of them. Now Microsoft Word or another word processing program will usually join these 2 together into a dash, but you want to make sure if you're putting something in the middle of the word, it's a hyphen. If you're going to introduce some extra information, it's going to be a dash. And neither of these is to be confused with the underscore, which is the other button that is at the top of your keyboard. So you want to keep those things straight. Now, we talked about dashes. When do you use a dash? A dash, the double hyphen. You use them to introduce some extra material into your sentence. It's usually something you want the reader to notice, something you want them to pay attention to. If you can put them in the middle of a sentence, that can be helpful or handy. When you have a detail that you're just adding in the middle, you want to think of dashes as a hardcore parentheses. Like, you don't want the reader to skim the information that is in a dash. You want them to pay attention. Now, moving on to parentheses. Parentheses are these things right here, right? So usually you're inserting extra information when you're adding a parentheses. It's a very subtle way to add the information. Like herpetology, the study of snakes, was not something Dr. Jones planned to pursue. So I don't need to read the study of snakes. I can just read herpetology was not something blah, blah, blah. But it's a way of sneaking in information. It's not quite as strong, like jumping out at you, as the dash. Now, you also use parentheses when you're doing MLA or APA format, when you're doing your in-text citation, like, you know, the British felt very strongly about their tea, parentheses, last name, page number, parentheses, final period. Or if you're using APA, then, you know, you throw some commas in here, you have a P, and you add the year, but you put your in-text citations in parentheses, so that would be another use for them. Now, sometimes people get confused between parentheses and brackets. Brackets are these square-looking parentheses. They are used to show that you have changed something within a quote. So if you said, you know, the original or the article explained how they have gotten to be a number one sensation, well, maybe I don't know who the they is, so I need to add Aerosmith. So I put some brackets around it to show that the Aerosmith is not what Smith said. I've changed a word. Sometimes when you're quoting, you need to change something to make it grammatically agree with the sentence you're making. You may have to change a pronoun to a person, just you may have to change a tense. These are the kinds of things that brackets are good for. You also use them for sick, right? The SIC to show that you're repeating the original spelling or the wording, the way that something has been put. You put some brackets around that. Now, these are the other bits. I'm sure you're familiar with these, but just to remember, this is a question mark, right? It indicates that you have asked a question. And this is an exclamation point, and you use them to show excitement. A note, exclamation points are very rare in academic writing. So if you throw one in there, realize that you are like jumping up and down and screaming. You really want someone to pay attention to this. Now, I know in some of your emails or when you're posting things online, you might do the exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Okay, that's like a lot of excitement. Just think of it this way. One exclamation point is jumping up and down and screaming. If you have more than that, that's just way too much excitement for the paper. So try to tone down your exclamation point usage. But overall, if you're going to use one of these bits of punctuation, just be sure to use it correctly.